It didn't slam. It didn't creak. It just clicked. A subtle, final sound, like punctuation at the end of a sentence you didn't know would change everything. I remember the way it echoed in my chest, the way my heartbeat suddenly felt louder than it should have in the silence that followed. It was a quiet house. Too quiet. The kind of silence that doesn't invite peace, no, not that, but rather leaves room for things you can't see to breathe all around you. I remember how it felt. The air, stale, pressed against my skin like something had exhaled a breath that never ended. My hand was still on the doorknob, as if some part of me knew, right then, that I should have turned back, that I should have opened that door again and walked out into the sunlight, into the safety of certainty, of familiar sounds and living things. But I didn't. Maybe it was stubbornness. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe, and this is what keeps me up at night, maybe I was meant to be there. Maybe something waited for me, and I walked in willingly. The house had been abandoned for years. That's what they all said anyway. No one had touched it since the accident. The windows, covered in grime. The porch swallowed by ivy. The roof sagging with time. It looked like the kind of place that the world forgets. And yet, it was never empty. Not really. Not in the way that matters. There was always something. People in town used to talk about it. Whispers behind hands, glances over shoulders, that kind of talk. The kind of fear that never dies. It just hides. They said the family who lived there vanished one by one. Not all at once, no. That would have been merciful. They disappeared like clockwork. First the daughter. Then the mother. Then the son. The father was last, or so the story goes. He was the one who locked the door for the final time. Some said he was insane by then. Others said he'd become something else entirely. It was a dare, at first. That's what I told myself. Just a stupid dare. A walk into the house. Nothing more. In, touch the wall, out again. 15 seconds inside. Prove everyone wrong.
Be the brave one. Easy.
I wasn't even thinking when I stepped in. The others were watching from the gate, laughing nervously, their voices distant and small. But the moment that door shut behind me, I didn't hear them anymore. Not really. The sound was swallowed up, like the house itself consumed it, like it fed on it. I stood there in the dark, light filtering through the cracks in the boards, dust hanging thick like smoke in the air. And then I knew. I wasn't alone. It wasn't just the chill, though that cold was real. It wasn't just the smell, that wet earth scent of rot and memory. It was something else. Something watching. I couldn't see it, not at first, but it was there. You know the feeling when someone stares at you from behind and you turn, and no one's there? It was like that, except the feeling never went away. It wrapped around me like vines. I told myself to leave. My legs didn't move. My feet felt rooted to the floorboards. I looked around, slowly, at the hall in front of me. There was wallpaper peeling like old skin, and a staircase that groaned under its own weight. I thought I saw something shift at the top of the stairs, but when I blinked, there was nothing. Then came the whisper. It wasn't a word, not exactly. More like breath in my ear. A breath that didn't belong to anything with lungs. It came from just behind me, so close I could feel the cold of it against my neck. I turned fast, heart leaping, expecting. I don't even know. But there was nothing.
Just the door. Closed.
I reached for the knob. It wouldn't turn. That's when the fear really set in. The deep kind. The kind that has weight. The kind that doesn't make you scream. Not yet, but makes you understand that screaming might not help. That whatever this was, it didn't follow rules. It didn't care about logic. I pounded on the door. No sound came out. Or maybe it did, and the house just took it in and swallowed it down. There was a mirror in the hallway. One of those tall, oval ones with iron legs, sitting just to the side, untouched by time. The surface wasn't dusty. It was too clean, like it had been waiting. I caught my reflection, or what I thought was my reflection, and it looked back at me. But then it smiled. I hadn't smiled. That's when I ran. Through the hall, past the decaying armchair, the torn photographs on the wall, down the corridor that seemed longer than it should have been. I turned corners that didn't make sense. Rooms that looped back into themselves. I would enter one door and come back to where I started, no matter which way I turned. Time bent there. It stretched. It unraveled. My watch had stopped ticking, and so had the air, like nothing moved unless I did. Like the house only existed when I was watching it. And still, something followed me. I didn't see it, not fully. But I'd catch it, sometimes, in the edge of a frame. In the corner of a shattered mirror. A figure not quite human, not quite shadow.
Tall.
Too tall. Moving in jerks like broken film. Its head tilted, watching, always watching. It never got closer. But it never left. I began to hear things. A child's laughter from upstairs. A woman sobbing in the walls. A man whispering numbers. Over and over. Over and over. And the sound of something scraping across the ceiling, slow and steady, as if dragging long fingers made of bone. I tried to cover my ears. It didn't help. The sounds were inside me now. There were portraits on the wall, faces of people with eyes that had no color. Just emptiness. As if their eyes had been stolen, like they'd seen something they weren't supposed to. And the more I stared, the more their faces began to shift. One blinked. Another turned her head slightly.
I know how insane it sounds.
I know what it feels like to question your own mind. But that was the worst part, the certainty. The absolute certainty that I wasn't losing it. That this was real. Eventually, I found the basement door. It was slightly ajar. And I don't know why I opened it. Maybe I was looking for the way out. Maybe the house wanted me to. But the moment the door creaked wider, the cold from below reached out like fingers on my throat. It was dark. Pitch black. And something breathed in that dark. I didn't want to go down. But I did. The stairs felt endless. My footsteps echoed too loud, like they didn't belong to just me. The deeper I went, the heavier the air became. There was water dripping somewhere. And then I reached the bottom. And there she was. A girl. Barefoot.
Pale.
Standing in the middle of the room, facing away. Her dress was soaked. Her hair matted. I opened my mouth to speak, but no sound came. I couldn't move. She turned slowly, so slowly, and when I saw her face, I forgot how to breathe. Her mouth wasn't right. It stretched too wide, her lips torn at the corners. Her eyes were hollow, like the portraits. And in that void, I saw things, memories that weren't mine. Pain that wasn't mine. Screams, fire, water, hands reaching from beneath the floor. I felt everything all at once. She stepped forward. I ran. I ran up the stairs, through the house, doors slamming behind me, rooms shifting again. The walls were bleeding now. Not metaphorically, they pulsed like flesh. I could hear the heartbeat of the house. It was alive.
It wanted me. It laughed.
At one point, I found a room I hadn't seen before. A nursery. The mobile above the crib spun without wind, playing a lullaby so distorted it scraped at my skull. There were handprints on the walls. Small ones. Dozens of them. Crawling upwards. The crib was empty. I don't know how long I was inside. Minutes.
Hours.
Days. Time meant nothing in there. My body was cold. My mind screamed. And the worst part, the most terrifying realization, was that I started to feel like I belonged. That maybe I had always belonged. The house doesn't just trap you. It changes you. It feeds off you. I knew if I stayed, I'd forget who I was. I'd become just another part of it. Another whisper. Another shadow. Another lost soul staring from a mirror, waiting for someone new to come through the door. Eventually, I found it again. The front door. Or a version of it. My hand shook as I reached for the knob. It turned, this time. And when the door opened, I stepped out into darkness. Not night. Darkness. As if the world outside had been erased.